Now, I know I've talked a lot about who the Texans should draft in this upcoming draft, but let's flip gears. Let's talk about who they should not draft. I do not want the Texans to draft these 5 players. If you're new to the channel, welcome. This is the Texans Better Talk Show. Don't forget to like and subscribe for daily Texans content. And remember, guys, I do not want to see these 2 players drafted. And we'll start with Josh Simmons, the tackle, who is pictured on the left. Now, I'm going to be honest. Josh Simmons is one of the best tackle prospects in this draft. He is one of the only tackle prospects in this draft who translates to an actual tackle at the NFL level without doing too much projecting. So why do I not want to draft Josh Simmons? It's not as simple as, just because we have a bunch of tackles. Like when I recorded this before we picked up Trent Brown, who I just made a short on, I understand that the Texans have a lot of tackle options now. That's not the main reason why I don't want them to draft Josh Simmons. It is, definitely more of a reason now. But when you're thinking about these tackle prospects and these tackles that the Texans have, they have a lot of these tackles on 1-year deals. Cam Robinson, 1-year deal. Trent Brown, 1-year deal. Titus Howard, if he doesn't play well, he might not even be here next year. So it's not so much that we have a lot of tackles already. It's more of what's on the screen. So I'm not a doctor. I don't feel like I need to say that, but I will just say it. So let's start with the picture on the right. So here's what Josh Simmons did. The picture on the right, you see the patella is connected to the tibia by this patellar tendon. He basically, and I'm just realizing that this isn't showing up, but he basically tore his patellar tendon, there we go, right here. So imagine this thing gets cut in half. Now, why is this bad? The patellar tendon is worse than an ACL tear. So on the left picture, now this is taking out the kneecap. So that this picture, the kneecap's gone. It would be right there. The tendon's gone because we're seeing through because the ACL runs diagonally inside the knee. So what does the patellar tendon do? The patellar tendon is what lets you extend your knee. So if you put a finger on your kneecap and just slowly, rub down to the top of your shin, that's where the patellar tendon goes. If you flex your knee, extend your knee forward like you're doing leg extensions, you can feel that tendon work. Obviously, you need that tendon to help support the knee, to extend the knee, and it deals a lot with, explosiveness. Like if you were to jump, that tendon would be helping your knee stay in place when you jump, right? So this is a longer recovery period, and it's also tends to be, there's more long-term effects, negative effects, such as your explosiveness, your ability to run and stabilize your knee, and your ability to just be fast, like to be quick, right? And be explosive. That tends to really go down with the patellar tear, which is this tendon right here. Moving on to the ACL, again, there's no patella, there's no tendon here, just x-raying through that. If an ACL is torn, it has to be repaired. Think of Stephon Diggs, think of, the non-contact injuries where you do a jab step or whatever, you cut, and then the ACL splits. This deals more with knee stability, right? So just keeping the knee stable, allowing you to make cuts and allowing you to be quick, like at a receiver position. So the ACL generally, you have a higher chance of coming back from it without long-term effects, generally. Stephon Diggs' age also has to be factored into it, but generally the ACL tear is not as serious. So what I am saying with all these diagrams is the patellar tendon tear is serious, and there's usually a lot of long-term effects. You can't see what I've written here, but I have 6 games played. He played 6 games before he tore this tendon, and he is one of the best offensive tackles in this draft. Some other concerns I'll say, just, not talking about the medicals, are that he kind of got injured before they played. They had their strengthier opponents, like the strength of schedule aspect of it. But that being said, he put up really good tape, played really well in the 2023 season as well, played really well in 6 games in the 2024 season. Unfortunately for me, it just comes down to the medicals and that, patellar tendon tear. But a couple more things about Josh Simmons before we move on. The first being, obviously, he's going to have to pass, medical checks. Teams are going to give him physicals. They're going to see how well he's moving and all that. So I guess if they draft him, they'll like what they see about the medicals. And so, yeah, that's really my thing on Josh Simmons. Unfortunately, health being a major part and why I don't think the Texans should draft him. Okay, now that we got that out of the way, let's move on to the next player. This is Isaiah Bond. This might be a little more controversial. Isaiah Bond, the Texas receiver who transferred in from Alabama, 5 feet 11 inches tall, 180 pounds. In 2024, he had 34 receptions for 540 yards. Look, with Isaiah Bond, he's a fast guy. He's speedy. I know there was that drama with his 40-yard dash, but he's quick. He can blow past defenses. He can break the tops off defenses. Good hands, really smooth routes, really great route runner. The problem with Isaiah Bond for me, and again, I'm kind of covering this, so sorry about that, but his football IQ isn't always there. Under that, I have zones. Sometimes he runs himself into like zone coverage. And he's so quick, it seems like he goes from 0 to 100 constantly. So he's constantly trying to run as fast as he can to get open, and that sometimes leads to him running into zone coverage. Also, I have tempo below that, meaning that like if he played with a little bit more tempo, knew kind of how to slow down a little bit and then accelerate and break zones, then I think he would be a much better player. The opposite of his play style and his football IQ to me is Emeka Egbuka, right? Like Isaiah Bond is probably a more athletic, a more speedy receiver than Emeka Egbuka, but Emeka Egbuka just knows how to curve his routes and get open in zones and really attack defenses, whereas Isaiah Bond really relies on his speed and is almost like a one-trick pony in that sense. And really, you know, you could argue with me and you could say, well, a lot of this can be coached up, can it? And I would argue, yes, a lot of this can be coached up. And then I would just kind of talk about the physical attributes. 5'11", 180 pounds. We've kind of gone through the Tank Dell experiment, and I think Tank Dell is a much better prospect than Isaiah Bond was. And then you kind of factor in that he wasn't extremely productive at Texas. He was kind of expected to carry the reins to be that number one receiver in Texas, and Matthew Golden overtook him, right? Matthew Golden had almost 1,000 yards. I mean, you can see the numbers, not amazing production from Isaiah Bond. Really felt like with his speed, he left a lot on the table, and I don't know if you want to project coaching that much. You certainly can, you know, you can teach a lot of this stuff, but I just don't know if you're ready to make that projection. And then you factor that into his size and play style. I don't really want to see him on the Texans. Like I wouldn't want a second round pick on Isaiah Bond. But moving on to the third guy, maybe a little more controversial. I don't know, but let's talk about Ollie Gordon Jr. or Ollie Gordon II. I don't know. I'm just going to call him Ollie Gordon. My mind's kind of not working right now. Look, with Ollie Gordon, Here's some things to think about. So 6'1", 220 pounds, a very, very big running back out of Oklahoma State University. 2023, he was phenomenal. 285 carries, 1,700 yards. Really phenomenal in 2023. What happens in 2024? Well, I think most Oklahoma State fans will tell you that the coaching wasn't really there. Schemes weren't really there. Just the offense kind of looked dull and they weren't very great this year. Let's just call it how it is. So his production falls to 190 carries for only 880 yards. However, I can't just sit here and tell you that his production fell off just because of bad coaching and bad scheme. Ollie Gordon is a big back, 6 feet, 1 inch tall, 220 pounds. He doesn't play super physically. Like, you almost wish that for his size, if he would just drop his shoulder and lay a hit, if he would just run over guys, then you could look past a lot of the other troubling kind of red flags. But he doesn't do that. And so what are some of the other troubling red flags? Well, just looking for gaps, knowing when to hit gaps, that's not really there. And it really just feels like he took a step back from the 2023 season because of not being able to look at gaps, not being the physical running back. The decision making at times, knowing when to run through holes just isn't really there. And so, I think if you were thinking about a running back, if you're the Texans and you're in that third round with those 2 third-round picks, I just don't feel comfortable spending one of those on Ollie Gordon. Feel free to debate me. 12 games played, so he did play the whole season this past year. There was also a DUI arrest. I'm not going to get into that too much. I mean, you guys can decide whether you want to factor that into it or not. It might have been alleged. I don't even know really the details on that. And again, under my screen, he did play in a bad offense. But when you look at him play, he took a step back. This isn't a player where we can just completely place, the bad offense kind of thing on. Like, he did not look like the same guy like how he did in 2023. I mean, just look at the production, almost half as much. And so that's definitely something that you have to factor in with Ollie Gordon II. And this running back class is so deep, like you can find other running backs for sure besides Ollie Gordon. Okay, let's move on to our next player that I do not think, or prospect I should say, that I do not think we should draft. This is Wyatt Milum. I believe that's how you say that. 6'6", 317 pounds. Now, what's there to like about Wyatt Milum? Well, first of all, he started as a right tackle as a freshman at Virginia. He was good. I mean, he was a pretty solid right tackle as a freshman, and then for his sophomore and junior years, he moves to left tackle. So I like the fact that he's played at right tackle. I like the fact that he's played at left tackle. He's got good size. He can maybe be like a rotational tackle or like a swing tackle if someone gets injured in the NFL level. But the big question is, can he play tackle at the NFL level? There's been some talk of people saying that he can play tackle. There's been other talk of moving him to guard. And I think the main reason why people want to see him move to guard is because of the athleticism. He's got naturally high pad level at his height. He just does. And so if someone gets under him, that can be problematic. Also, he tends to lose to speedy edge rushers. And we know in the NFL, the edge rushers get a lot better. And if he doesn't get that initial block on a pass rusher, he tends to lunge and get off balance and kind of ruin his technique because he doesn't have the athleticism to keep up with those guys. And we saw hints of this in college. So you can only think that it's going to be worse at the NFL level. Now, he's predicted to go in like the 4th round, maybe the 3rd round. I'd probably say 3rd round, maybe 4th round. So I'd probably flip that. But you don't know if you're getting a guy who can play tackle. You might have to move him to guard, and he's not the most athletic guy. And for that reason, he tends to be around like a 3rd round, 4th round pick. I want the Texans' offensive line issue solved way before that. I want it solved in the 1st or 2nd round. And so I don't think you want to wait around and, roll the dice on a guy like Wyatt Milum when you have extremely athletic guards like Ursure, like Sabayena. You have other options that you can pick up before you go to Wyatt Milum. So again, positives, a lot of experience, played both sides on the line. Negatives, really just the athleticism. I mean, he's got the grit. He wants to finish blocks. He wants to attack people. It's just the athleticism. But, I hope he proves me wrong. Just don't want to see him on the Texans. Don't want to roll the dice. And finally, for the 5th prospect, I have a abundance of prospects, a catch-all. This is going to be really simple, guys. I don't want to see defense drafted in the 1st or 2nd round. That's just me. Feel free to disagree. Our defense is elite right now. Like, tell me I'm wrong. Name one spot on the defense that's not elite right now. We got our safety. We got C.J. Gardner-Johnson. We have 2 of the best cornerbacks in the league. We've got pretty solid linebackers in Azeez Al-Shaair and Henry To'oTo'o. And if Christian Harris can ever get healthy, we've got him. I don't even need to talk about our front defensive line. Like, our front's insane. Our defense is elite. If I see D'Amico Ryans draft a linebacker in the 1st or 2nd round, I'm going to lose my mind. If I see them draft a defensive tackle, I don't care if it's Kenneth Grant. I don't want to see Kenneth Grant come off the board for the Texans in the 1st round. I don't want to see it. We've spent a lot of money in free agency on this D-line. We've made trades. We've made an excellent trade to get our safety. I previously mocked Malachi Starks, taking Malachi Starks at 25 because he fell. I wouldn't even do that. I mean, you have C.J. Gardner-Johnson for 2 years. Just step away from the defense in the first 2 rounds. If you want to go defensive tackle in the 3rd round, fine. You want to go a backup corner, that's fine in the 3rd round. I don't want to see it in the 1st or 2nd rounds. Like I have here, offense, please. The offense needs help. And so that's all I got for this video, guys. Let me know if you agree. Let me know if you disagree. Are there other names you would add? Are there other names you would take away? Do you like some of these guys and have them higher than I do? Please let me know in the comments. And remember, don't forget to like and subscribe. This is the Texans Better Talk Show, and I will see you guys in the next one, man. Peace out.